Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Self-Care Matters with VeeBee, a channel dedicated to the promotion of self-care. Today we are talking about the relationship between chronic stress and chronic health conditions. And as always, I will share a practical coping strategy at the end. However, depending on the length of the informational video, I might split it into two, which means that the coping strategy will be in a separate video, but I'll attach the link in the description box. So before we begin, I have a question for you. Do you remember the last time you felt stressed? Can you describe what you felt? Probably not. We have become so numb to stress that we experience it, but we can't really consciously pinpoint when we are actually experiencing it. All we can actually feel is a feeling of frustration, maybe irritability, anger, and mostly those are misplaced as well. You don't get angry or irritable with the person who or the situation that brings it about, but you kind of take it out on someone who probably has nothing to do with it. You may have experienced getting upset at work, but then coming home and, yelling at your kid or, whatever. So let's just review what happens to us when we experience stress. I don't want you to try this, especially if you're not in good physical health. But if you were to jump up and down 15 times and put your hand next to your chest and listen to your breathing, what you feel is exactly what the stress response triggers inside you when it is activated. Now, the interesting part is on the outside, we do not really realize consciously that it is happening. So it does not really matter how big or small a threat is. The threat response and the intensity stays the same. And this is what we really need to understand. And all of those sort of stress hormones cause changes in our nervous system, cardiovascular system, endocrine and immune system, because cortisol and adrenaline, when they get released to make energy for immediate use, then all these changes take place, because a new pattern of energy distribution also emerges, because that energy has to be sent directly and immediately to the parts of the body that need it the most. So energy is diverted to the tissues that become more active during stress, such as the skeletal muscles and the brain. And less important functions such as digestion, growth, and reproduction, they are all interrupted. So the produced energy during stress response is distributed to the areas that need it the most through elevated blood pressure and by contracting certain blood vessels while dilating others. So activation of stress response also produces and releases glucocorticosteroids. Now, these have long-term impact on your processing and cognition, which includes learning, decision-making, attention, and memory. You may have heard people who are stressed out, they complain of not being able to remember things, right? Or maybe, making decisions which seem impulsive in hindsight or not well thought out. So over time, chronic stress also suppresses our immunity, which can lead to slower healing and vulnerability to infections and inflammation. And during this time of COVID, you know how important it is for us to have a healthy immunity so that we are able to fight infections. And inflammation has been associated with a lot of, actually most of chronic health conditions, especially autoimmune diseases, right? So severe stress has been shown to suppress the immune system and has also been linked to growth of malignant cells and tumor expansion. So we know that chronic stress negatively impacts our heart. And that happens because chronic stress increases our blood pressure, increases our heart rate, increases our need for oxygen, and also increases blood lipids. It creates disorders in blood clotting, causes vascular changes, can cause irregular heartbeat, and all of those factors are risk factors for heart disease. Stress also impacts our gut function or our digestion. It not just impacts the bowel movement where, some people might feel they become, constipated, whereas others have to go more frequently, but it also impacts secretion of stomach acid, the inflammation of your GI tract, and also, most importantly, absorption of nutrition. And so even if you're eating well, but you're stressed out, you may not be able to use up all the nutrition that your food is providing. So stress has also been linked to irritable bowel syndrome and peptic ulcers and intestinal inflammation. It does also upset the balance of the gut bacteria, which is very important for not just gut health, but also for your mood. So there is a big connection between mood and the food that we eat. Not just the food that we eat, also now we know the food that we are able to absorb as well. So as we talk about gut, stress, we also know can impact our appetite, but nutrition can impact our response to stress as well. What we eat can also make us less stressed or more stressed. I will do another episode on nutrition in the next little while. So even a minimal amount of stress can either activate or change the activity of endocrine system processes such as pituitary gland, adrenal glands, thyroid, and pancreas. And all of these are involved with various body functions, which obviously in turn impact those body functions. We also have a huge body of evidence that suggests that a chronically activated, dysregulated acute stress response is responsible for excessive inflammation and autoimmune conditions. So that's why it is very important that we keep our stress response in check so that we can minimize the amount of inflammation our body experiences and also are able to regulate our immune response. So As we know, as we just learned, stress can impact our mind, body, and health at a very deep level. That's why we need to learn strategies that can help us neutralize it, because insecurities of our daily life, such as a job loss, a relationship conflict, financial worries, they are a fact of life, right? And they are going to activate our stress response. But that does not mean that we have to feel helpless about it. Far from it. By changing our attitude and developing coping skills, we can learn to neutralize the negative impact of stress on our minds and bodies. And research does suggest that optimistic people with good coping skills do fare much, much better. So the trick is really to be able to listen to your body. Just go back to what we tried earlier. And every time you are stressed, know that your body is experiencing jumping up and down 15 times, and your heart is beating at that rate, and your body is experiencing all that. So that is when you need to use coping strategies such as deep breathing to disengage your stress response and re-engage your rest and digest response. That's it for now. I will make another video for a breathing technique that is going to be very helpful for you. I thank you so much for your time. I hope this has been helpful. I hope to see you soon again. Until then, please be kind to yourself and to one another. And bye for now.